Let me ask you something honest. Have you ever had a season in life where nothing looks dramatically wrong, but everything feels different? The conversations that once excited you feel exhausting. The life you built no longer feels like it fits. And suddenly you're left wondering, what is happening to me? Why does life feel confusing, uncomfortable, sometimes even lonely? Right when you thought things were supposed to start making sense? Here's something many people don't realize. Sometimes the reason life feels hardest is because your life is changing. And when life begins changing, it doesn't always feel exciting. Sometimes it feels like everything you once knew is quietly rearranging itself. If you've been feeling this tension lately, the sense that something inside you is shifting, but you can't fully explain it, I want you to know something important. You are not broken. You are not lost. You may simply be standing in the middle of transformation. Here at Dream Life Diaries, we talk about the real journey of becoming. Not just the inspiring moments that look good from the outside, but the quiet, uncomfortable seasons that many people walk through when their life begins changing. Because transformation is rarely dramatic, most of the time it happens slowly. It happens in the quiet moments when you begin questioning things you once accepted. It happens when your priorities begin shifting. It happens when the life that once felt normal no longer feels aligned with who you are becoming. And during those seasons, many people start doubting themselves. They wonder, why does everything feel harder lately? Why do I feel disconnected from things that used to make sense? Why does life suddenly feel uncertain? But often these questions are not signs that something is wrong. They are signs that something is changing. And change, even when it is necessary, can feel deeply uncomfortable. Because change asks you to release the version of life you once understood. One of the hardest parts of transformation is that it rarely feels clear in the beginning. You don't wake up one morning with all the answers. Instead, you feel tension, a quiet awareness that something inside you is shifting. The things that once felt exciting no longer carry the same energy. The environments you once tolerated start to feel exhausting. And the goals that once motivated you begin to lose their meaning. This is not failure. This is awareness. And awareness often arrives before clarity. Many people experience a season that feels like standing between two lives. The life you used to live no longer feels right. But the life you are growing into has not fully appeared yet. This space in between can feel confusing because you are no longer the person you used to be, but you are still discovering the person you are becoming. And this in-between season can feel lonely, but it is also the place where the deepest transformation happens. Sometimes, when God begins changing a life, He does not start by changing your circumstances. He starts by changing your perspective. He allows you to see things with new awareness. You begin recognizing what drains your spirit and what strengthens it. You begin noticing which environments support your growth and which ones quietly hold you back. And that clarity can feel uncomfortable because once you see things clearly, you cannot pretend not to see them. But sometimes that clarity is exactly how God begins guiding you toward a new chapter. He is not trying to confuse you. He is helping you realign. Because the life you are meant to live often requires leaving behind the version of life that once felt familiar. Change feels hard because it asks you to release certainty. It asks you to step into something new before you fully understand it. It asks you to trust the direction of your life, even when the path ahead is not completely clear. And that can feel frightening. But the discomfort of change is often the first sign that transformation is happening. Because growth rarely begins inside your comfort zone. It begins when life stretches you into someone new. If your life feels difficult right now, if things feel uncertain, if the life you once knew no longer feels aligned, you may not be losing your way. You may simply be evolving. And evolution often requires a season of adjustment. A season where your identity shifts. A season where your priorities change. A season where you begin discovering who you truly are. If this message resonates with where you are right now, take a moment to like this video so it can reach someone else who may be quietly walking through the same season. And if you are navigating a season of change, subscribe to Dream Life Diaries. Because this channel exists for the moments when life feels uncertain and for the journey of rebuilding the life you are meant to live. And I want to ask you something. What change has been happening in your life lately? Your story might be the encouragement someone else needs today. And if this season feels familiar to you, the next video I recommend watching is called What Happens After You Outgrow Your Old Life? Because once your life begins changing, the next step is learning how to move forward with clarity and confidence. You'll find that video on the screen right here. Sometimes the hardest seasons of life are not signs that everything is falling apart. Sometimes they are the quiet moments when everything is being rearranged. Because transformation rarely announces itself. It simply begins changing you until one day you realize your life has become something new. And that journey is what gentle rebuilding looks like.